Welcome to the Sweaty Pillow podcast. I've been really excited about our special guest today because talking about skin and anti-aging, it's the third most requested topic for our community at the Sweaty Pillow. So we have the perfect guest to talk about this. We have Dr. Sandy Skotnicki. I apologize. Dr. Sandy is a dermatologist and assistant professor at the University of Toronto, founder of Bay Dermatology Center in Toronto, author of Beyond Sleep, and contributor to so many other publications. And Dr. Sandy launched her own podcast called Skin to It. Love the name, which is on all the platforms, and everyone to make sure you check this out. Thanks for joining us today, Sandy. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I bought Beyond Soap when it came out, and it was like I was gobsmacked on the learnings and how
Mhm.
uneducated I was on skin health. And then I dusted it off this week when I was preparing for us talking together, and I remember how much I loved it. But the latest news is you've got almost 200 five-star reviews, and that is not a small thing on Amazon. So obviously, people are really connecting with you and your story. Tell us your journey in writing the book, and tell us about the book.
Well, I think you mentioned there, I teach at U of T. My subspecialty interest is allergic reactions in the skin, not hives, but something we call contact dermatitis. So things that touch the skin that cause reaction. And I've been doing this 27 years. So there was sort of this surge. I don't know. Kind of with the advent of social media, where people started to react more to unknowingly to their own products. And so we were getting these referrals I was in particular, by the hundreds of people saying, I can't use anything. My skin's so sensitive. I react to everything. And I got kind of, discouraged and fed up with, 'cause I allergy test everybody, and they weren't positive to any, they weren't allergic. They were just using so many products, and they were doing too many steps. And so I wanted to write a book to get to a wider audience about this problem, this epidemic, which it is, and it still is an epidemic of sensitive skin. I mean, I think it's 50 to 70% of the westernized sort of cultured, not cultured, but where we have indoor plumbing and all that kind of drugstore down the street. 50%, 50 to 70% of this population feels they have sensitive skin. Now, that's not possible genetically. So it's a bit
Mm.
self-induced. So that was the sort of reasoning for writing the book, because believe me, I worked full time the whole time. I have kids. I didn't realize that writing a book, like, it was an incredible endeavor, a really great one, but like a lot of work. And so I have so many people ask me when I'm going to write another book. I go, oh, it's almost killed me. I'm not going to write another book. That's why I did a podcast, because I think a podcast is a great way of disseminating information that a book starts, like a dialogue that started. And I mean, in today's 30-second information bursts, I think we need long format discussion on some more controversial topics like menopause for women in their 50s. We've sort of been a lost generation with respect to menopause. That dialogue, you can't get a message across in a 30-second TikTok or a
Mhm.
minute TikTok. So I think, and books are great, but not everybody reads them. I think I didn't know I had that many reviews on Amazon. That's I have to go check after. So that's my journey. Yeah, it's been a great journey.
I Something that resonated with me many years ago when I got your book is just the damage and the things that we're putting on our skin and doing to our skin, and this billion-dollar anti-aging and skincare industry. And you really opened my eyes on what you should and shouldn't be doing and how you can simplify us. Tell us about your formula that you talked about in your book.
Well, I mean, it is a less is more minimal approach. And when my book first came out, and I'd have patients come in, and they were European, they go, we already know that. Like, we don't shower
Mm.
every day. Showering every day and washing every day and putting body those big massive jugs of body wash. I mean, that is a marketing um tool. I mean, we have
Mhm.
been sold this thing that we have to wash ourselves head to toe to be healthy. And it's
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
actually not true, and it's what's been ingrained in us from a marketing point of view. I mean, soap operas started to sell soap, and listen, before antibiotics, oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, they were. That was
No.
the purpose, to sell laundry soaps and detergents to housewives that were home. That was the purpose of that's how
Hmm.
soap opera started, and that's where the name comes from. But before antibiotics, you could die if you had a cut. So of course, the mom would have the kids after they were playing outside. They'd scrub them head to toe because if they had a scratch, they could die. I mean,
Hmm.
we don't live in that society anymore. And also, when I started research for my book, the even wider message is: have we actually damaged our damaged is the wrong word, because it takes up like 100 years or more to maybe change something in our genetic makeup. Like we went from washing once a week with a sponge bath before 1940. Like that's not that long ago, because that's when indoor plumbing sort of started in North America, to washing every day. So have we actually disrupted our skin microbiome? Our microbiome is this bacteria that lives on our skin. It trains our immune system. Has it increased allergies? Like all these bigger, sort of more existential questions, really. But at the end of the day, just for yourself, washing your face, you don't need 10 steps. You want to use a cleanser that is pH balanced, like to your skin. Our skin is 4 to 6. True soaps are alkaline, they're pH 10, they're very damaging to our skin. They disrupt the barrier, they disrupt the microbiome. So cleansing at night, taking off your makeup, pollution, sunscreen. You actually don't need to cleanse in the morning if you don't have problem skin. Sunscreen in the morning, a moisturizer at night. I mean, with some anti-aging products as you get older, vitamin C, peptides, we can talk a little bit about that. But it's pretty basic. You don't need 10 steps and masks and things like that. And a lot of that, because I do get pushback, that's about self-care. And there's
Hmm.
absolutely nothing wrong with self-care. I do it. Um,
Hmm.
but there's a very big difference between skin health and beauty. And they
Okay.
often are not congruous. They often, um, you know, that's why we have a problem. That's why we have an epidemic of
Hmm.
skin, because all those things are actually not healthy for our skin.
That is an interesting aha moment distinction
Mhm,
on skin health, which should
mhm,
be the priority, shouldn't it?
mhm, mhm. Well,
Okay.
that's the sort of name of my podcast. The tagline is a guide to healthy skin, because healthy skin, you would think, is skin that's beautiful, like no lines, no spots. It's not too dry, whatever. But to actually attain healthy skin, you don't really need to do that much.
Interesting.
So
There's
yeah,
there's this trend on TikTok called the everything shower. And I'm caught up in it because now I keep getting it on my feed. And it's these young, beautiful supermodels that have from the body scrub to the body wash to the skin to the hair to the scalp. And it is $1,000 products and 2 hours of a situation to do this girl's everything shower. And your words are in my mind going, wait a second. A, suckers for buying all this stuff. B, you're 24 years old. C, what kind of damage are you doing at a young age?
it's called girls
So
everything shower.
it's called the everything shower. Do
I'm
that,
definitely
search
doing
that
it.
up. So it's
Episode on that.
just
Yeah, these
concerning.
shows, you're going against the grain here. Like my message sometimes just doesn't make it to the people who really need to hear it,
Hmm.
because again, the everything shower sounds like a lot of fun, right? Like you're in the shower,
What kind
trying
of
this,
everything shower?
great smells, you got great scrubs. But that is again not about skin health. That's about
Hmm.
having fun. That's about self-care. I mean, I would imagine though a lot of young people that are impressionable, and we're talking tweens here, would equate that to: if I do what she does, I will have glowing
Hmm.
skin and look like that. And that's the scary message about all this. And that's why I think TikTok is coming under, not just for the tween craze of skincare, which is a big problem and has been, I think, propagated a lot by this kind of thing that you just
Hmm.
described. And again, I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but I think a lot of this can be fun, but it has to be done in moderation. And we
Right.
never even talked about, well, we often don't talk about, I did a whole episode on sustainability. I mean, all that crap is going down the drain. And yes, we have
Yes.
filtration systems and stuff like that, but all those microbeads for years, they went through the filtration system and went out into the oceans and the lakes, and they're probably still there. So all those microbeaded plastics. Um, yeah, it's just so not necessary. Yeah, that's
Now moving into aging skin,
mm,
and there is a trend in our generation, especially my girlfriends in our community, about how do we simplify our life. And I've been, you run and founded this unbelievably popular clinic in Toronto, and I have several friends that go, and I'm not going to name them because they almost want to protect their Dr. Sandy glow, because it's like, oh, I think I can see her across the restaurant and she must go to Dr. Sandy because she looks so good. So you are the go-to place, very popular. You see women, with respect to aging skin and simplifying. I love your kind of methodology, because I go to clinics here in Calgary, and I'm told I need 7 lasers, 2 peels, 17 products. I'm like, can you just tell me the one or two things that I really should do and can afford, and simplify my life? So
yeah,
in your
really keep
clinic, when
doing
you're
it.
seeing women, like, what do you tell them? What's your protocol and recipe?
Well, first of all, just to go back to your point there, I really that's upsetting when I hear that. I mean, and unfortunately,
Hmm.
not to speak ill of our specialty, but it has become a bit of a sales job in some of those types of mammoth cosmetic clinics. I mean, we are physicians. We are not there to sell you product. We are there to guide you and help you. But it becomes a challenge sometimes. Oh well, I mean, I've been at this so long, and I interviewed a really great dermatologist in New York, Dr. Doris Day, who has a wonderful approach to beauty and aging as well. And I did learn something from her. I actually used to say, let's start with what's bothering you, because it's
Hmm.
not beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I'm not going to sit here and point out my perceived deficiencies in you,
Mm. Hmm.
because that can make somebody feel really bad. Like, oh, I didn't know I had an issue with that. You know my nose wasn't straight and that you can fix it with filler. So we focus on, and then Dr. Day said, I also say to the people, to my patients, let's focus on your best features
Mm.
and enhance those, right? So that's the kind of discussion I have. And then I also say it's a blueprint. And I think I may have stole that from Dr. Day. Or we had similar. It's like we have, when you go and you're going to do your home, or you might do the bathrooms, you might do the kitchen later, you might get a new sofa. You're not going to do it all at once, right?
Yeah.
There's a blueprint. We start off with enhancing your best features that you think. I love my eyes, but my the folds are going down a little bit. What can we do about that? um, the things that I hate the most, my jowl, my this, my that. And then we sort of do a little blueprint for that. And then we get into one of the really important things, and the way I discuss this with patients, is your skin is layers, right? Right.
Hmm.
Your face, anyway. I mean, everywhere is, but we talk about treating your layers of your face. So you have the wrinkles, which is, like the dynamic wrinkles. That's Botox. We have volume. We can put volume, but then there's texture. So some people have a lot of roughness, or they have a lot of pores. So that's one specific laser. And then you might want to tighten the muscle. That's a different kind of laser. And then you might have pigmentation, which is red and brown. So we talk about all those, but I kind of say, what bugs you the most? And we can
Hmm.
do a blueprint on, okay, we're going to start off with the things that you really don't like, or the things we can really make a big impact on. And then maybe in 6 months or a year, you do the next layer. You maybe tighten, or next 6 months, you might do something with your brown spots. I mean, so we do it in a that's the way I approach it. And some people will
Hmm.
say, listen, I don't have a lot of money. I just want to do one thing that I think is going to, I want to just make myself feel a little better. And then I approach that a little bit differently. What
Hmm.
can I do that gives them the best bang for the buck? And it's not a bunch of skincare, because really all you need is
Right.
sunscreen and retinol and maybe vitamin C. So that's kind of how I approach it. And I have patients. I've had patients with me for 27 years. I've been through their
Wow.
marriage, their divorce, their kids get married, their cancer treatments. I've been through all kinds of things with them.
That's rewarding.
Yeah, and it's a privilege.
Yes. I think it's so tangible, the work you do and the opportunity that you have to educate women and aging skin and skin health because you're about, streamlining the process and simplifying it. You don't need a lot of skincare, which is great because that can rack up into the thousands.
Mhm.
But you can really kind of say, listen, step one, let's just preserve the structure of your face so it doesn't fall into your chest, which is something that I was told once. I was actually at this event with Jill in New York, and this woman that owned a clinic came up to us and was just talking. She says she tells everybody once the structure of your face collapses, it's harder to, you know, like what kind of
I
cranes and pulley systems do we need to pull it all back up?
I want to kind of make a comment on that. So, when I don't know, I'm 57. I'm not sure how old you are. So I've been menopausal for a while.
Hmm.
And I remember going to my gynecologist and saying, I think I want to take something. And um, she was like, well, do you have symptoms? I go, well, yeah, they're not too bad. She goes, that's the only reason to take symptoms. So to take medicine. And I now looking back, I actually am on bioidentical hormones. It's so we've had this big disservice, which we sort of talked about at the beginning, where women in their 50s, because a lot of the studies for hormone replacement were done in the women in their 60s, and it showed there was some issues, right? I'm sure you've discussed
Hmm.
that on other podcasts.
Hmm.
So, in the 50s, we're kind of at a disservice because the physicians don't want to prescribe it because of those studies. But the point of this whole thing is as soon as you go through menopause, like full on menopause, you lose about 30% of your collagen.
Hmm.
And it's not uh, unusual for me to have a patient come in and say, one day my face just fell apart.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
face just fell. Because, well, if you lose 30% of your collagen within a year, it's actually the first 5 years, and then it sort of slowly decreases after that. Of course, that's going to affect your support structures. So we can
Hmm.
replace some of that with filler and build it back up and skin tightening and things like that. But I'm a big proponent of going on hormone replacement, and I don't think I would have
Mm-hmm.
said that 5 years ago.
Right.
Um, I don't know if you listen to Peter Attia, his podcast
Hmm.
Drive, his book Longevity. I mean, he said one of the biggest disservices medicine has done in the last 50 years is the lack of support of menopausal women in their 50s because
Right.
of one study that was done.
Hmm.
So, if you want to do a easy, cheap, not easy because there's side effects and things like that, and access, go on hormone replacement when you get into menopause. It will help
Yeah.
your skin. Of course, there's contraindications, there's side effects. All that stuff has to be taken into account. But
Hmm.
to use those studies that were done in women in their 60s as the barometer to explain side effects to women in
Hmm.
their 50s is not right.
No, that did a lot of damage, and we're still so far from digging ourselves out of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So so is what you're saying, and the science supports that we are aging at a rate, our 20s and 30s, and we get into our 40s when estrogen drops. And so the normal aging, does it ramp up because of this collagen loss? So the effects on our skin are that much worse than just the slow aging process?
Yeah. I mean, your collagen is your support structure.
Mm,
So it's
okay.
like it's the jowls. It's the jowls.
Mm-hmm.
It's the loss of volume in your cheek. Like if
Yeah.
you look at young people, they have apple cheeks. So
Mm-hmm.
if that's sometimes where we put filler, because when we put filler here, or to this side, it pulls up your face, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the loss of volume and collagen here causes this to drop. So we
Mm-hmm.
can we can replace and we can try to build that back up with filler, which we do. And then we have these lasers. I use one that's called All Therapy, which is an
Okay.
ultrasound device that heats up muscle. So we can try to
Mm-hmm.
tighten the muscle, which it does.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you can only do so much. Otherwise, because if
Right.
you do too much filler, then you look like those strange people with big, big cheeks, right? That's
Right.
overfilled. That's wrong. It's done
Mm-hmm.
improperly. That's an injector doing too much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's done to try to correct. Like if you put in more filler, you're going to pull up this here. We can also shape this with some filler. But one of the things you can do is if you are the proper candidate for hormone replacement, that will help you. There's also collagen supplementation. I used to kind of, when that first came around, I was like, there's no way eating collagen powder is going to help. But there's some studies. Now,
Mm-hmm.
supplements, the studies with supplements are challenging. I talk about this on my podcast. I do a whole episode on regulation. Supplements aren't regulated. If they're not
Mm-hmm.
regulated, they're not going to be rigorously studied. But the science of collagen does make sense. Taking it, I take marine collagen personally. Um, it will help, and there have been some studies. They're not robust, like thousands of people, but they have been double-blind, randomized, controlled studies to show that taking collagen in by mouth internally can help support your skin structures, your tendons, anything that's made of collagen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know because I was going to ask you, what are the other things, lifestyle or supplementation, that we could start working on earlier than, hitting 55 and going, oh, damn, my
Mhm.
jowls have fell into my collarbone and now it's too late. I better just save for a facelift. There's got to
Mhm.
be that preventative, approach earlier in your 40s that we can get into before we're dealing with heavy lifting.
As far as supplements for skin, there's not really that many other than the collagen. I mean,
Okay.
there are things that are like I take some antioxidant type of supplements every day because I think antioxidation for just your body is good, and there's
Hmm.
lots of studies to it helps sop up all the free radicals that might be damaging your DNA and leading you to genetic mutations or gene mutations. So I take athletic greens, I take acai powder, I try to have some frozen blueberries, I take mushroom extract, I have some dementia in my family, so I take lion's mane. Um, but for skin, like the best thing you can do is sunscreen and sun avoidance. Like
Okay.
when you look, I don't know about you, but I have friends my age, and
Hmm.
I can tell like the people have aged better. Some of it's genetics for sure, but the people that are big sun worshipers or smoke, they age much
Mm.
much. So
That's an obvious tell. Yeah, and in Alberta, it's so dry. And when I moved from Toronto to Alberta, my skin took a hit. Then
mhm,
you see, the farming community of women that have worked on a farm and have been in sun, and it's like, wait a second, you're only you're only
mhm,
36 because what has happened to your skin? And oh, and if you smoke too,
yeah,
just it's not great. There's
yeah,
certainly lifestyle things.
yeah. That's
Um,
the most. I mean, if you're listening to this and you're in your early 40s or late 30s, like sunscreen, and if I, a lot of sunscreen controversy. I have not to keep plugging my podcast, but I did a whole episode on controversies. Like I attacked each controversy. Sunscreens cause cancer.
mm,
It's that benzene is going to kill you. All this stuff. I talk about all of it. If you really don't want to wear sunscreen, because there are people now that are just they're so brainwashed by all the clickbait. Um, Avoid sun between 11 and 3. Wear a 3-inch hat, a brim with
mhm.
a 3 inches. When you have to wear sunscreen, wear mineral, which is zinc and titanium, which has not been associated with any of those issues that we just sort of mentioned. Um, yeah, that's
I'm
what
really
you.
glad you are mentioning your podcast because our community is about providing education and where to get the best education. So we need to point women there. And in our culture of social media means fact, we have to have people that are debunking some of this nonsense because I go crazy when I hear, well, I'm not putting that on mom because I saw something on TikTok that
Oh
said
yeah.
yeah, it's just let's do a
It's
bit more research and get educated.
And I have to say, I mean, I'm not sure about your area, which is sort of the menopausal zone, but there's a lot of misinformation, even on some of the podcasts. And some of the podcasts in
Hmm.
beauty are, I get trying to sell product. So they
Right.
have somebody come on and they talk about the greatest lipstick or what's the best hair thing or whatever, and then at the end you can buy it all. So
Yeah.
my podcast, I'm really trying to be, um, it's educational.
Hmm.
When I talk
Yeah.
about what's anti-aging, I'm talking about ingredients. You know,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
retinol,
Okay, that's good to know.
acid, vitamin C in a 15% stable solution. And if you have, I always tell my patients, if you're following somebody, if you like somebody or whatever, if they're always trying to sell you something,
Hmm.
just be cautious of their messaging because they are getting paid to do so.
Great advice. So you are on the inner circle of what's coming down the pipe in terms of innovation in skincare. Is there anything you're excited about in whether it be information or new lasers or new treatments that we should be on the lookout for as we've like got this insider giving us the inside scoop now?
Mhm. Not really. I mean, there might be something that I'm not in the know of, but I mean, laser technology does continue to improve so much, and we can
Hmm.
really do a lot. You can really do a lot with lasers. And there's been a little bit of a shift against like the overfilled face and the
Mm.
over- face with no lines, but then the neck is, and the hands, like they're 80. So you can a lot of these laser technologies that resurface the skin. I talk about that with my patients. Like I use a gardening analogy. Like if you're going to aerate the lawn, you put holes in the lawn comes in
Hmm.
fuller with new grass.
Hmm.
Do the same to your
Hmm.
skin. So it's a natural, I put that in quotation mark, like you're using your own body to make new skin. It's ingenious. And so those technologies just continue to improve, improve, improve. Like we used to only be able to put so many holes and they were so deep and people are like, I don't have a week to look bad, right? Now
Yeah.
we have these laser heads that can go like really, you can just do a not so deep. If you've got more time, we'll go a little deeper. We can put more holes, less holes. So the technology with lasers continues to improve. And I think it's really exciting. The issue, of course, is, being sold them when you're going in for a mole check or something like that. That's when
Mm.
I have an issue with. Um, Anything new and topical? I mean, I did read some things about DNA repair creams where they can actually potentially repair some of the damage. And there's just some guy on, I don't know if you've read about that. He did this study looking at how you can actually reverse aging. He's reversed aged through some genetic change in animals and some invertebrates. So I think that the
Huh.
genetics we're getting a little bit into the twilight zone, but I think a lot of this stuff is potentially on the horizon because it's a huge money.
Hmm. That's just it, where there's demand.
Mhm.
But I love, and we will highlight, you did mention a particular laser that's your favorite. So, hopefully there's more clinics that have that laser. Is there a favorite, is there any favorite, vitamin C or anything that you want to
Mhm.
shout out that you really, really love personally?
And I should say that laser, so rather than getting, again, bogged down with names, because they all
Okay.
have a trade name, the
Okay.
technology there is called fractionated lasering. So you're
Okay, perfect.
fractionated, you're putting fractions of injury into the skin. And there's
Okay.
any number of different um, devices that can do that. And just on that note, you want to get a device that is going to actually ablate or destroy the skin. The
Okay.
fractionated lasers that just heat up the skin, you pay a lot of money, and I don't think you get as much.
Mm.
Um,
There's people writing notes in this room. They can't even wait for the podcast to come out to get all this. Thank you.
as far as topicals, I do use vitamin C. I have several varieties because I have some people. I get things sent to me so often. And I mean, I can say some names here. I mean, the original vitamin C creator was a dermatologist from Duke University who started SkinCeuticals.
Okay.
His name is escaping me at the moment. So, and he basically was the one to show that, vitamin C in a concentration of over 10%, so 10 to
Mm-hmm.
15% were the original studies, that is stable, because vitamin C can become unstable and then useless. And that's why it has to be in an opaque bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was shown to increase collagen production. And
Amazing.
so, SkinCeuticals is the first. They have the most studies. They also have a proprietary kind of vehicle that delivers the vitamin C, which they talk quite a bit about. And I think somebody tried to copy it and they sued them. So I think, like, of all the ones out there, that's pretty
Mm.
good. A drugstore variety that is owned by, because now L'Oreal owns SkinCeuticals, they also own
Mm-hmm.
Vichy. The vitamin C Vichy
Mm.
that's at the drugstore, which is 10%, is excellent, and I recommend that for
Oh.
younger varieties, and it's, one third of the price. Um, but there's a lot of vitamin C's out there, and again, you have to be careful because they have to be stable.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people will throw some vitamin C in there and it might be absolutely useless. So formulation is very important. And then retinol. I mean, if you're only going to use
Mm-hmm.
three things: sunscreen, SPF 30 minimum if you can. If you're really worried about oceans and everything else that comes along with the sunscreen controversies, use mineral sunscreen, zinc and titanium mixture, because titanium doesn't protect you against longer UVA wavelength, which is more aging and cancer causing. So get a zinc titanium mix. And then retinol at night. Retinol in the
Beauty.
1% if you can. And there's any number. And retinol is actually fairly easy to make or to have stable. It does have to also be in a packaging that isn't um, exposed to light. But SkinCeuticals has a retinol. CeraVe has a retinol. I mean, everybody
Mm.
and their grandmother is making their retinols in their basement. So it is the thing you have. And you can also get prescription retinoic acid, which is this, 20 times the strength up, which if you can tolerate it is that's the irony of, you can get, if you have a drug plan, you can get the strongest, best anti-aging product available on the planet for free.
Well, that is good to know. I'm making an appointment with my doctor. This has been amazing because one of the things I love about you, because I was a fan when I read your book, but you're not just about running one of the hottest clinics in Canada. You care about educating women. So I'm grateful for your podcast, the work you do. You just laid it out so simply for our community, and they are going to hang on your every word. So thank you so much, Dr. Sandy. We're going to run out right now and get onto some of your recommendations. We're so excited.
Well, thank you so much for having me on and putting a face to the name, because we have Jill, our in common, who's a absolutely wonderful person, and she's done so much for me, and I think for you as well. And I
Yes. Yeah.
appreciate you having me on, and I love your pajamas. I have them. I've got two pairs. I've got the light blue, and
Nice.
I think I have two pairs of light blue. I think she gave me two different
Oh, yeah.
sizes. Yeah, they're
Oh,
great.
okay. That's awesome. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So we will circle back and make sure that on our site we just have every possible resource of yours to put out to our community because they'll get great value in it, including your podcast.
And vice versa. You send me your.
Okay.
I would love to put, if you ever do that, like I could do a little story with a link to, how my
Awesome.
my followers can get your wonderful PJs.
That'd be amazing. Well,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you. We will get you the link when we're launching your podcast, and I can't wait for it to be live.
Well, thank you. Thanks again for having me on, and best of luck with all your future endeavors.
Thanks, Sandy.